So the Goiter program has been fairly extensive. There's been work that you hear about today on hydrogeology and hydrology, so surface water and also groundwater. Some of the stuff I'll talk about is water wetland requirements, so what do the plants need in order to function. Rob will talk about alkalinity, that high pH that we've seen and some of the causes behind that. And then tomorrow, there'll be some talks on climate and how it affects water availability. But there's a common theme that runs through all of this, and it's how do we manage these systems? How do we adapt with what we're dealing with, whether it's high nutrients, whether it's changing water availability, whether it's trying to manage the suite of wetlands with all the pressures that are coming onto them. And there are a whole suite of pressures that we see within the southeast as we grade from the south right through to the northern part of the southeast. There's this salinity issue, not so much of a problem down here. There's drainage. How do we manage? We've done a really good job of getting water off the landscape and opening it up for production. But how do we manage this system? There's forestry and how that affects both the surface water and also the groundwater. And then across South Australia, we've got this drying climate. What are we going to see in the next 20 to 30 years, and how do we cope with that? So just to set the scene, this is just salinity data that was from the groundwater, and you can see fairly fresh in the south, grading to fairly saline in the north. So as we're looking to manage wetlands, we have to be aware of this as well. We've got fresh water out there, we've got more saline water out there, different plant communities. How do we manage those? We've got this extensive drainage network. There used to be a lot of more wetlands through the southeast. Now we've got wetlands here, where the groundwater flow will be being intercepted by drains and taken north now towards the Coorong, rather than flowing out to these wetlands and to the coast. So how do we manage that system? And it has been really effective at draining the land and opening it up for productive agriculture. So we used to have, this is the wetland extent back to about 1850s, and now we're looking at around about 10% of that area now remaining as wetlands. So we've seen this big change in hydrology over the last 150 or so years. We've got these more recent changes in the hydrogeology as well. So this is the depth to groundwater, or the rate of groundwater decline. Particularly focused around coals and shorts, so the hardwood plantations that have gone in there. So, with the change in the way we manage the land, we start to see these changes in the way the water's responding as well. So this is groundwater decline around coals and short with the forestry. So then we can start to ask the research questions. So how will these changes affect water availability for wetlands? Given what we know, given the way we've drained it, given the way we've changed the land use, what are we going to be faced with in the future? And then what is the essential knowledge we need for water allocation? We've got all these different water users. We've got the industry, we've got forests, we've got landholders. Everyone's extracting water, and we're trying to balance their demands or their needs and trading off that with what the environment needs. So I'll just present two case studies around environmental water needs. One is wetlands across the southeast, and then one specifically around Newlands ponds. And I'll just talk broadly about them and some of the conclusions and some of the tools that are now available to start looking at the environmental water needs within the southeast. So the first one, there's about 17,000 wetlands which are mapped within this region. About 90% of them are groundwater dependent, so there's this really high dependency upon the groundwater, so we need to be able to protect that resource as well. And because it's good quality, particularly down in this region, then there's other pressures on it. So we can grow crops. It's developing as big an irrigation region as the riverland, particularly as the River Murray becomes less reliable. There'll be greater demands on this region. So there's policy in place to protect the wetlands, but it's really hard to test. Often, if you put in a plan and you go out and monitor, you're not really knowing if you're having an impact until things start to go pear-shaped. And so there is a policy here, 27-metre drawdown over 5 years will trigger some extra protection. So you might try and put some more water into those wetlands, you might increase the buffer zone around those. But what do we do when we've got shallow wetlands? 25-centimetre drawdown, if you've got some connection with the surface water there, that's not a big, well, those wetlands are fairly sensitive if they're shallow and relying upon the groundwater resource. We also aren't really sure where climate's going to go. What we do know is that it's going to become drier, it's going to decrease the winter rainfall, we're going to see maybe longer periods between large rain events, and we might see what we've got at the moment is beautiful summer rain, which is great for keeping the ground green, but not always great for some of the weeds that are popping up around the place. So what we were really interested in is whether some of these policies are effective, and what additional tools can we put in to be able to manage. Now, in order to manage, what you want is really, really sophisticated science, great models, really, really good hydrological models, geological models, so groundwater models. But then you need to be able to extract from that the really important pieces of information and come up with fairly simple rules. So those rules of thumb are sophisticated science, simple rules to manage. Because within this region, there's 17,000 wetlands. You can't apply the models to all of those. You need some generalisation. So we need as few variations as possible, but we need equity. So we need the same rules applying across the place and try and equitably divide the resource. The wetlands are highly variable though, so we've got different diversity, we've got different species, we've got different connection with groundwater, we've got different salinity. So how do we come up with proper tools to evaluate and manage in that sort of scenario? So we can come up with these predictive tools, and I'll give an example of those, where we can start to test policy, the implications of different policy decisions, and we can start to test how wetlands are going to operate or function under different hydrology. Now, if we look specifically at the wetland plants, we can look at depth to inundation and duration of inundation. So this gives us the water regime, how much water is there and how long is the water within the wetland. So if it's not very deep, and it's not deep, or there's not water there for very long, we tend to get the terrestrial type plants. As you get water for longer, as you get water deeper and water for longer, then you get amphibious plants, those that like their feet wet for a little bit longer, and then when you've got really wet conditions, you get the submerged macrophytes. So using this type of model, we can come up with a predictive model to link to our hydrological models to determine what sort of species are going to be there. So this is basically using a plant functional group model, where we say, under these hydrological conditions, we would expect these plant communities. And then we can run these models under different scenarios to predict what might occur under changing climate, under changing water regime. So in this case, we used 12 different wetland complexes across 28 basins, and they were all sampled. So the ecologists went out, the plant ecologists, and mapped quadrats, and depending upon the depth of water and duration of water, determining the presence or absence of particular plant species and where they sit, whether they're submerged macrophytes, whether they're the terrestrial type macrophytes. And there was daily groundwater data available, there was also salinity data available. So the plants are also going to respond to salinity. Now this approach, I think, was pioneered in this region by Abigail during her PhD, sitting in the audience. So here we're looking at some normalised water regime predictor, modified by salinity. So as salinity changes, you're going to get different plant response. And then it's determining the probability of the presence of particular functional groups under a particular water regime or under a particular salinity. So then, if you've got a model, hydrological model, that predicts what the water regime is and salinity, you can start to determine what types of plant species would be there. And you can model that for a range of different water scenarios. So this is water depth, and might be a modification to climate, which is changing how much water is in the landscape. Overlay your species response model to that, and you can start to determine what species is likely to be in that wetland complex. And this is the type of outputs you would get, depending upon whether you're a really damp year or a dry year, and you can start to then determine what species are going to be available, or going to be whether you've got the right aquatic habitat for particular species to be existing in that region. And then, so here we've got the different plant functional groups, percentage cover, and you can start to look at different scenarios. So within this wetland, this is the baseline, so current conditions, you can see there's high diversity, lots of different plant functional groups through the region. If you start to see a decline in groundwater, and so there's not as much water available, there's not as much depth, you'll see a loss of some of the species. As groundwater declines further in this scenario, less and less species until you got 1 metre decline, and then you've pretty much just got one type, the more terrestrial type of plant species within a wetland. So depending upon what the future looks like, we'll see probably a reduction in the diversity within these regions, and depending upon how big the change in water level is, will determine how many species or how many of these functional groups might not exist in particular wetlands. So if we start to see a 0.25 metre decline in the water table, there'll be some impact. It may not be great, but all of those plant functional groups will be present. So we'll still have the terrestrial type, right through to the amphibious and submerged types. If groundwater continues to decline, so if the climate dries out, then we are going to start losing some things. We'll start losing some of these plant functional groups. And with a 1 metre decline, that would be enough to remove a few of the different plant functional group types. So depending on where we end up in the scenario with climate, will determine what species are going to be available and whether we start to lose, in particular, some of these amphibious species and the habitat becoming more homogenised, so more of our wetlands looking similar. So it's not all a bleak picture. We can manage this type of state. This is the current policy trigger. We just need to be really aware and keep monitoring our wetlands to make sure we know where we're tracking and make sure we're allocating water so that we've got diversity of habitat across all of the wetlands as we grade from the south to the north. The second example that I'll show, so there's models available, so and they're embedded now within JUNA. So we had one of the beauties of the Wetland Institute is the scientists are working closely with scientists within JUNA as well, and so there's this transfer of knowledge and models seamlessly from the science that goes on into the department, and so all of that information is available for water allocation and prediction of water for habitat into the future. The second example is around Ewan's Ponds, which is a particularly unique site, particularly for South Australia, where we've got probably the greatest water clarity for, I don't know, 1,000 kilometres. I took a marine biologist here who's done 5,000 dives, and he says it's the clearest water he's ever dived in. So it really is a unique site and particularly beautiful and a great asset, which I think is not well known within South Australia, that we have something as beautiful as Ewan's and Pig Ponds. The concerns that we had with Ewan's Ponds, though, were that there was some epiphytic algae, so benthic algae along the bottom, and concerns that nutrients were increasing the growth of that epiphytic algae or benthic algae within the ponds. For those who aren't familiar, Ewan's Ponds is about 30 kilometres south of here, a connection of 3 ponds, so a fairly large sinkhole in the first pond, connected by these fast-running channels and then discharging out to the sea. It's groundwater fed. It hosts some amazing species. So there's the pygmy perch there. There's also the endangered and protected Bonnell spiny crayfish. It is really a fairly unique system that you stumble across as you drive down the road. You know, you're not expecting to see something like that within this region. But there's a few indicators that things aren't all right with Ewan's Ponds, and one is this growth of epiphytic algae. There's really high nitrogen concentrations, and there's also some cyanobacterial blooms associated with the benthic algae. So there's these pressures that sit there around Ewan's Ponds. There's land use pressures, water extraction pressures, and so we were looking to see what's the current state of Ewan's Ponds and what does it need in terms of nutrient control and in terms of flow to maintain it. Now there's a hypothesis that is generally around lake ecology. It's called the alternate state hypothesis. So they're saying that wetlands can exist in one of two states. One is a clear water phase, where you've got good light penetration, you've got macrophytes at the bottom. It's typically what we would consider to be a nice healthy ecosystem. The alternative is what we call the phytoplankton. It's a turbid phytoplankton dominated phase. So you've got lots of nutrients coming in, you've got phytoplankton growth, it makes it turbid, it cuts down light, and then you haven't got light penetrating to the bottom where you have, so macrophytes wouldn't be able to grow. And this is the way that the alternate states is viewed, and it says that we've got an ecosystem state here, so you've got state A and you've got state B, and then you've got conditions, and so in this case it would be state A would be the nice clear water state, macrophyte dominated. State B would be this turbid phytoplankton state, but it's saying that and this would be nutrients. So under low nutrients, we've got clear water, and to get to this state, it's quite a steep climb, and so it's really hard for it to shift into this alternate state because you've got low nutrients. But if nutrients increase, the steepness of this decreases, and so it might be that the ball could go out of this cup into state B, but then it could return because it's still a low nutrient state. So if you reduce nutrients again, it would be easier for that to come back down. But then as you get more and more nutrient, it becomes more and more turbid, then it becomes really hard. So this would be the phytoplankton state. It's really hard to go back to the clear water state. Whoops. And so it's really important with lake management that we try to keep low nutrients and try to keep clear water, because if it shifts, it transitions, it's really hard to get back again. I guess that was some of our concern for this area, and wanting to know what is it about Ewan's ponds that keeps it nice and clear, and what are the threats to that. So we looked at a number of the different stresses. We did a water budget, looking at how much flow there is. We did a nutrient budget to determine how much nutrients coming in, nutrient both from the catchment, from groundwater, and also maybe from the sediments coming into here. And it's all linked to phytoplankton growth. So what we didn't want was, what we wanted to know was how much phytoplankton is in that lake and what's controlling it. Now flow controls it a lot, so we're getting dilution. There's such high flow going through that we're controlling phytoplankton populations within the lake. Phosphorus is also a control on chlorophyll. The more phosphorus you have, the more chlorophyll. It's like plant growth, same deal. And the carrying capacity of the lake, the amount of phytoplankton that it can carry, is directly linked to the total phosphorus. This is important because it changes light attenuation, so the rate at which light is captured or scattered within the water column. More phytoplankton, less light penetrates to depth, and so then you would have some impact on the macrophytes, and so we wanted to know the threshold of the macrophytes, how much light do they need, and so we could come up with a picture on when it's going to be in a phytoplankton dominated state, when it's going to be in a macrophyte dominated state, using both flow and nutrients as our model. So most of the work focused on this component, and I'll give some of the approach to that, and then some of the results as well. So there was monitoring going on, both within the lake and also in the bores to the north, looking at both age of groundwater, so what water was coming in, the concentration of nutrients within that water, and then also what was happening within the ponds itself. And the monitoring involved measuring flow. It's important because it's diluting those phytoplankton populations. It involved looking at the groundwater within the bores, age in the water, looking at nutrients both within the surface and deep in the water column, and also looking at the light climate, so how much light is penetrating, what's available for the macrophytes. So we did the experiments looking at sediment oxygen demand, because if you get low oxygen, then you'll get release of nutrients from the sediment into the water column. We did a nutrient budget, also working out what's coming in from the catchment through the groundwater. Groundwater dating using chlorofluorocarbons, which are no longer used, thankfully, but do give are useful as an indicator of aging groundwater. We did a range of bioassays, incubating phytoplankton, trying to work out what the potential growth was within the water from Ewan's ponds, and coming up with a biomass measurement under different nutrient conditions, and then determining how much light attenuation that phytoplankton would make, so how much light reduction would be there. And this was all plugged into this phytoplankton growth model that's predicting this concentration based on flow, dilution, and also based on phytoplankton inputs. So there's two things we really wanted to know. We wanted to know how much light do the macrophytes need, and we wanted to know how much light do the epiphytic algae cut out. So with this, we put in submerged chambers and we measured photosynthesis, so we can determine what the light requirements of those macrophytes were on the bottom. So we're doing that by continuously measuring oxygen, getting a picture of photosynthesis. And then with this, we're looking at epiphytic algae with no nutrient limitation. So adding nutrients to it, at different concentrations to determine how much growth there was, and then how much light attenuation, reduction in light, is going to occur. So they're pretty cool experiments. You just put a dome on the bottom with an oxygen sensor and measuring the photosynthetic capability of these plants over the course of a day. And so we could, with different light tuned over the course of the day, we can determine what the plant light requirements are. So there's a few key findings. One is that about 70% of the water is entering through pond 1, about 30% of the groundwater is coming in through pond 3. It's coming in very quickly, so there's fast flow, and so we're seeing a lot of dilution as we move through. So there's low residence time, there's low opportunity for phytoplankton communities to establish within that lake at the moment. The water column is well mixed because the flow is so high, we've got lots of oxygen, and so there's not going to be a lot of nutrient release from sediment, which is good. That's a good thing for the nutrient budget. TN to TP is high, which would indicate that phosphorus is limiting. There's lots and lots of nitrogen, really high concentrations of nitrogen coming in through the groundwater. And the water age that's coming in, it's about 26 to 37 years. So depending on fertiliser history in the catchment, we can start to get a bit of a picture on how that water's entering the lakes and what sort of nutrient it might bring with it. Now we do bioassays to try and determine what is the limiting nutrient, because the nitrogen is so high there. If we add additional nitrogen to a bioassay, so we take water, add nitrogen to it, there's no extra growth because phosphorus is limiting. If we add phosphorus, however, you get a lot of growth. And so one thing that's really important for Ewan's ponds is to keep phosphorus low. There's lots and lots of nitrogen there, there's lots of potential for growth. It's important to keep phosphorus low. Because as phosphorus concentrations go up, so the growth rate of the algae goes up, and so it's inevitable. If phosphorus concentrations increase, it will at least increase concentrations of epiphytic algae. We can get high growth rates of the phytoplankton, so pelagic algae up in the water column, but because of the flow, there's very little there in terms of the phytoplankton community. However, if phosphorus increases, we'll start to see chlorophyll increasing, and within about 20 days we could start to see the conditions that would lead to insufficient light reaching the macrophytes at the bottom. So it's important to keep phosphorus low. This just shows the light requirements for this is a photosynthesis curve. So they need light to photosynthesize and grow. This shows how the epiphytic biomass, so this is the algae that grows on the bottom or grows on the plants, how that cuts out the light. So when you haven't got a lot there, you get a lot of transmission, so there's still going to be light reaching those leaves, but if nutrients increase and epiphytic biomass increases, so you'll see more growth on the plant, and as you can see, it starts to cut out light quite considerably as biomass increases. So we still need to control nutrients within this region, not just for the phytoplankton, the pelagics, but also for epiphytic algae, which covers the plants. So across the southeast, there's some sites that have higher phosphorus concentrations. About 34% of the sites have what we consider to be too high phosphorus. Most of the sites have high nitrogen, and that's a lot of it is a function of this high connection to groundwater, and the groundwater tends to have higher concentrations of nitrate. This is some of the benthic algae, which has grown up in a large tower at Ewan Ponds and forming out over the surface. And you can see it's quite an extensive bloom. It's originated at the bottom and come up, and it's continued to grow at the surface. And that's going to cut out quite a lot of light to the macrophytes at the bottom. So some of the conclusions. There's there's two things that are acting together to maintain Newlands ponds in a good state. One is the high flow and one is the high nutrients. If we reduce flow and then you're not diluting the populations, there still is opportunity for phytoplankton growth, and so in that case you need to really make sure that phosphorus is low. If you increase phosphorus, epiphytic algal growth will increase, and so we still need some phosphorus control, or make sure we've got low phosphorus in this environment. So maintaining high flow and low nutrients is really critical to maintain macrophyte communities in Newlands ponds and keep it in this clear water state. If there was to be, because of the way the groundwater is coming in and fertiliser use, there may be some spike of phosphorus, but the type of soils we have in this region, a lot of the phosphorus is down, and so you wouldn't be expecting a lot of phosphorus coming in. But if it did, we'd need to ensure that we had high flows to cope with this period and dilute our populations. Epiphytic algal growth is still a risk. Growth rates can be fairly high, so we need to be aware of that and maintain it. And I think it's important then that we do continue to monitor these two key components, nutrients and flow, because if we don't, then we might miss it. And what we don't want to do is switch and lose our macrophytes from this area and lose that ecological value that this site has. And these types of models can be applied to different systems. So there's learnings from here that we can apply elsewhere. Although Newlands is a fairly unique environment, you can see here covered by a lot of algae, we can still take that learning around the bioassays, the nutrients, dilution, apply it to other systems as well. So I hope I've been able to give you two examples of the work that's been done and the type of models that have been developed through the work of the Goya Institute and the colleagues of the various partners on management of these systems within the southeast. Thank you.